It's Wednesday morning. It's the 6th day of the month of July. A wonderful good morning to you, Grenada, Cayenne, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you, wherever you are. Indeed, it's a wonderful day to be here in the land of the living. And we're saying thanks for the opportunity to connect with each other on this platform. Welcome to the Point. And indeed, it's a pleasure being here with you. I want to say a special good morning to our listeners, those of you on GBN's Channel 7 and Channel 11, Channel 20 if you're in cable. Indeed, we say thanks for being part of the conversation. If you're in Classic 105.5 or 105.9, or you're chiming in via one of our social media platforms, be YouTube, Facebook, or you're possibly on the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. Welcome to this morning's conversation. I'm Joseph Cadore. You call me JC, and indeed it's a pleasure being here with you. Wednesday morning, and traditionally we do have representatives from the ruling administration, but as you can well appreciate the fact that we're still in the transitionary process this morning, we give you an opportunity because of certainly once we get down into the meat of things and cabinet meets, they do, and the ministers gets into the run of things, you certainly can appreciate that we're going to be having some hectic and active conversations on this platform. But we still continue to massage, we still continue to absorb, and the dust hasn't quite settled yet on the June 23rd election, and certainly we continue to measure and manage the process, manage our expectations, and that's very often one of the challenge as it is, our ability to manage our expectations, not getting overly excited as to the possibilities. That's what happens on what's promised on the campaign trail, and what is in the promise, and what is in fact likely in reality. That conversation is going to come in this morning. Very often we try to measure an administration, their first 100 days in office. But even without that, today we want to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts. And what is it you would like to see? And I'm asking this question objectively. As a nation, what are the areas of interest that you would like to see attend to more? There's a conversation of education, free education, which in fact is not a new conversation, but you can certainly well appreciate in the context. While I hear, well, it was said in the days of the revolution, that's a different time and period back then. What exactly is free education? What about education, our young people, our women, our infrastructure, our overall development? What exactly are some of the hot button issues that you would like to see and get our ministers off and running as they attempt to navigate us into the 21st century? We have a caller that is on the line. We go directly to the caller. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Good morning, Uncle Joe, and how you do?
I'm wonderful, thank you. All
right, Uncle Joe, I do not know exactly what was your topic because normally I will turn off the television. But however, there is something on my mind that I wanted to say. Do we have open line, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yes, go ahead. Go
right.
ahead. Mm-hmm.
Now, if things continue, the cost of living and so on continue to stay as it is or continue to rise, then the poverty level in Grenada is not going to get better. So this is my humble opinion. It's a word from the what again?
A word from the wise is enough.
All right.
Okay.
Uncle Joe, I'm thinking that if the government, when they settle in and so on, they can remove VAT completely from certain food types of items. For instance, a certain type of oil. I don't know what, because they would know what and how, where they pay more and things like that. Sugar, flour, rice, salt, fish. Now the Pampers, a certain type. Milk, a certain type, not remove that from every item or from every milk or everything. And we're not throwing the VAT away. We will put it on alcohol, the big type of alcohol. People come into Grenada, they don't care if they pay $100 when they go to the hotel for a nip. So if we can put it there, because at least we know that we need the taxes to survive. So if we can work on that, that will be a great help for food stuff, and this is what we're trying to come out of poverty.
Right.
Now, other thing is, the wages in Grenada. Now, I work for senior citizens. I do geriatric care. I was trained in the Centenary in Trillium College. And I know that, well, retire and come back home, still working. But when somebody call you and they explaining to you with all your certificate and all that, and they offering you $900 per month.
Right.
You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, you don't know what to say. if you understand exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
So the wages for the lower class people have to be addressed as soon as possible. And it slipped me there. You see, Uncle Joe, if we look at, slowly think that the people that are in poverty, no, the grandparents are in the government help. So 3-4 categories are in the government help. But in the earlier age, remember, look at it closely, Uncle Joe, I'm not taking your time, at the people that the estate workers in the earlier days. And I grew up on estate. And the estate workers, the estate owners will send their children to school, university, this and the other, so they can develop.
Right.
Now, the estate workers who working for little nothing, they cannot send their children to school, and the children come and working on the estate for the same little pennies. Okay. So that's one of the reasons that poverty for the poor people, you know, remain there.
Okay.
So those things, thanks for your time, but maybe we should consider those things. Do I make
Thank
sense
you.
to you?
Making a whole lot of sense.
All right,
Thanks
have a nice day.
Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Minimum wage, the issue of education. Minimum wage, I know, is a conversation that started on the previous administrations, and certainly is one that needs to be continued. Certainly, there should be a standard equation across the board as to exactly what one earns for as part of its remuneration for services rendered. We go back to the telephone lines. The 8 minutes gone past the hour of 9.
Yes, morning, Joseph.
Good morning
to your listeners and viewers. Now, there's so many things that one could say that we should do, but I think one of the most important things for me is that we should really address the issue of the disaster preparedness, disaster readiness, because we can do all kind of other stuff, and then some system come and they throw it away. So I would urge the administration to move speedily to remedy some of the deficiency in NADMA.
What are some of those deficiencies, sir, if you mind me asking?
Well, first of all, we didn't have a head of NADMA. We had an acting head of NADMA who wasn't really trained to be a head. I mean, not that I have anything about the person. In fact, I'm happy that the person could make, progress through life. But we need someone who could really have command of the situation. Somebody preferably trained and understand the dynamics of disaster management, disaster preparedness, disaster recovery, and all other things. So that's one. But which would also encompass ensuring that the NADMA structure is strengthened, for instance, in the communities, in the districts and so on. Over the months, I've asked people in different villages and so on what their knowledge of NADMA on the ground, not what they hear on the radio. And almost nobody could tell me anything in terms of what's happening in their community as far as NADMA is concerned.
Let me ask you, does that concern you? That is it that NADMA is not doing, or is it the language that they use to communicate is not really resonating with the people?
No, I don't think so much is language. I think what happened is that NADMA was really not treated properly by the past administration, and people might think I'm passionate. I'm not saying anything without any merit.
No, I understand.
No, I'm just telling you.
No, the point I was making to you, sir. I wasn't against the point you're making. I was trying to add to it, and I'm asking because I know, and I think we both agree that in recent times, NADMA has done quite a remarkable job in attempting to give visibility. So the concern that you raise, I'm asking, Because I know for a fact that NADMA has been quite visible when you compare to what happened 10, 15 years ago. So that concern you really trying to figure out, why is it you thinking that people are saying they don't know? Is it that they're not interested?
Is that, Joe, listen to me. It's good to have public relation, but public relation is not backed up by reality.
Okay, so that's your concern.
That's what I'm saying, you know?
Right. So I just want us to be clear on that.
Maybe it's saying what you hear in the media and what's on the ground, because I've asked people, including young people, what is their experience? Is there any presence of NADMA? And there's not. Unfortunately, the past administration didn't like any strong organization, whether it's government or otherwise. So he could manipulate the situation. Let me ask you a question. Cyril McIntyre is one of the best trained persons in disaster in Grenada. Where is he? Okay? That's one question. And there are other people that I'm no friend of Sylvan, but we have to be fair. I mean, he's one of the most trained persons in Grenada.
Okay.
And he's not deployed. I mean, other countries deploying him. He's not deployed in the area that he has the most proficiency. Okay. So I'm saying that we need to really get the structure. And then I know people who, because they maybe asked certain questions, they would move from NADMA.
Okay.
And NADMA, the district doctor. So I'm saying we need to really stop playing around. And Joseph, let me tell you this. About 2 years ago.
Try to make it a short, please, sir.
Yeah, a former minister, about 2 years ago, a former minister went on radio and said that we only would have four centers when a media system was about coming. And the truth about it is that the other centers were not ready. People within the system could tell you that. It wasn't ready,
but you would agree, so while I agree with what happened in the past, but you would agree that has changed, hasn't it?
No, I tell you, 2 years ago, so not much have changed 2 years ago. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. There's something called this.
Let's not argue this, because I know even as recent when we had the storm, an announcement went out, there were shelters that was announced and made available, and we were just under a storm watch. So it's not fair to say that nothing has been done.
Yeah,
while I agree that yes, there's need for improvement in a lot of areas.
Even NADMA admitted that they were having problems in getting volunteers and other people to.
I am not talking about 2 years ago, sir. I'm talking about
I'm not talking about 2 years ago. But no, I'm not talking about 2 years ago. I'm talking about even more recently. We have to be one of the problems we have in Grenada. We are not really willing to face reality as it is and solve the problem.
And I agree with you, sir. And I'm agreeing with you, sir. But I think one of the challenges very often that sometimes we could be objective in our delivery, highlight that which has been done, and then objectively make recommendations. But we often sometimes behave as though there's nothing that's taking place, which is unfair.
No. Most of what is taking place equal to nothing. I'm saying, like for instance, when you was in operation and I was.
We have to leave the conversation for here now, so we cannot go on it.
So we have to really become honest.
Okay. Thank you. 435-2041. And very often I think sometimes as Grenadians we need to be objective in our analysis. And I'm not saying that everything is perfect, but very often we find it easy to highlight everything that's not being done. Sometimes we can be honest. This has been done. It's not been done objectively. But to say that, people, nobody knows. And sometimes the reason why people are not necessarily actively engaged is not that the information is not being disseminated. It's just that very often we have this nonchalant attitude when it comes to dealing with issues of natural disasters and those sort of things. But again, we do accept you. We encourage your contributions. We go back to the telephone lines. It's 16 minutes past the hour of 9. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Good morning.
I'm hearing you very distant, caller.
I am just listening to your program, and I'm so saddened because we criticize everything. We have to be more God-centered. We can't just criticize everything. And I was listening the last time when we were expecting a storm, and they gave us lots of information. So for that caller to say that we did not get information, that is so sad. I don't know if you just want to criticize everything. Come on, stop that.
Thank you, caller. 435-2041. That's the number that is on the inside. We say good morning to our viewers that is joining us via the social media platform. We say thanks for being part of the conversation. A contribution via social media. Alistair Warwood Sr. says, I do agree with the fact that extra VAT should be placed on alcohol and tobacco and allow us to an ease on our staple foods. And I agree 100%. I think the problem is not the issue of the VAT, is where are you going to place it? I mean, we complain about the issue of obesity and all these other health challenges that we have. But yet though, it is easier to go to the supermarket and purchase a carbonated drink than it is to go to a restaurant and buy a glass of freshly squeezed fruit juice. The options are going to become very much easier. People are always going to gravitate to that which seems economically viable. And that is a conversation that must be had as to how we deal with the limited resources that we have and collectively come about finding solutions for our issues. Listen, if you decide you want to go and spend your money on alcohol, but it may serve, and while it may not necessarily serve as a deterrent to all, there are many who would consider, you know what, boy, that is not making sense. Let's go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, sir.
That's your enemy here.
I have no enemy, sir.
Well, I'm your enemy.
Well,
you don't have enemy, but I have.
I have no enemy. Go ahead.
Anyhow, many could criticize, but few can do better. I'm not talking in relationship to the person who spoke a few minutes back. Now, criticism has both negative and positive things about it. So when somebody hear the word criticize, that means it's not only that you're against, so you could say the good as well as the bad. So that's what criticism means. At the same time, maybe you can answer that. Why is it that those, or some of us, maybe I include myself too, that we don't know much, and we always say that we know, we pretend we know. That's what bothers me. There are certain things that people have been placed in certain position, and because they are placed in that particular situation, they have a tendency to believe all what they say is truth. They are a little grown God. All what they say is truth, and they do not want to accept what a factual knowledge or skill to believe what the person says is truth, because they live within their own little shell, and they feel they are grown gods.
Okay.
And this is what is happening to some of us in Grenada. Okay. We know little, and we pretend we know. That's all my information this morning. Thank you very much.
All the best to you, sir. 19 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time. This contributor on social media says, I think tax on gas should be removed and placed on tobacco and alcohol. Interesting conversation. So we're not removing the VAT altogether, we just shifting it around. Maybe that's what would make it easier. It would add increased productivity with it. That's an interesting conversation. I can probably always see the reverse argument on the for those who will say, not on my rum. Interesting conversation. 21 minutes past the hour. Good morning, caller. You alive? Good morning, caller. You alive? Good morning, caller. You alive? 435-2041, and that is the number on the inside. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller. You alive?
Hello. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're alive. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. You're alive.
Thanks,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment, please, regarding, and it focuses about choice. We make choice in life, and what we want to consume and what we don't want to consume. And one of the things that shocked me is recently in the supermarket in Grenada, I looked for some sorrel. And we're familiar with sorrel being naturally red. But when I read the label, I didn't see it. There was no sorrel in the label. There was red dye and a whole bunch of artificial stuff. And I just think for a Caribbean island, which is in the tropics, which pride itself in agriculture, at least we used to pride ourselves in agriculture, we need to do a better job. It would be better for us probably not to be having such artificial stuff. We can have the real sorrel. There is no need to be selling in the supermarket something labeled as sorrel and it's just loaded with red dye. So that's my comment.
Thank you, sir. Excellent observation. And it is argued that something that's one of the challenge where you have these open free market opportunities, whereby you may have secondary products from other territories and regions and markets that is brought in, and maybe it's possibly cheaper. But the question is, what does it do? Are we going to put systems in place that allows to help to promote our own local products? Maybe we may have to do issues of packaging and rebranding, but the conversation must be had. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, sir.
I'm wonderful.
Alcohol and tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
When Gary was there, Gary had bring the price down because he said that people are going to still buy it when they want it. They're going to still buy it when they want it. So if he says to bring the price down, and I really want the alcohol and I really want the tobacco, I'm going to still buy it. It will cost me more money, but I'm going to still buy it because I want to have it with my friends. So it don't make any sense because people want to still buy it. So if you have to give your wife more money, you're going to give her less because you want to buy the alcohol and the tobacco. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. And that's it. I'm telling you, I know you're going to get the flip side of the argument that if they want to buy it, but certainly you would agree, we can well appreciate it may just serve as a deterrent to serve. To some, there, those of us, we our hearts heavy, we intend to do what we're going to do, and yes. But certainly, when it comes to making a wager, and certainly remember, one thing we talk about alcohol, we're not just referring to the hard liquor as well, It may be some of the basic things that we consume and where we spend a lot of money, where that could be rerouted in other areas. But we go back to the telephone lines. Good morning. You are live.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning to you, caller.
Joe, we're facing a situation in this country, and it's really frustrating for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, you have tourists coming in this country. Most of them use the US dollar. They may come by you, they will spend a little $5. But Joe, when you get this little $1 to go and spend it, so much a problem. This one they want $1. You can't go in the bank and get $1 change. So I don't know what this administration could do to ease up this stress. Sometimes you go with a little US dollar to buy something in the grocery shop. The way how they find this dollar, they're hoping to see a little fault in it to reject. Sometimes you put all your grocery and the stand, and that is what you have to pay with. And if you have a little rampler, you have a little care, they don't take that. No, you have to go and put back all your grocery there. So I don't know if they could partner with one bank or what, that when you get the US dollars, you could go in that bank and change it without no headache or problem for us, please.
Well, here's what I would suggest, and I understand your concern altogether, but here's the reverse that I would recommend. Maybe what probably needs to be done in order to eliminate those challenges. I think each and every one of us should start acquainting ourselves, educating ourselves with the security features, because you have to appreciate we're living in a society where counterfeiting has become the order of the day, and certainly everybody has to manage and balance their economies. So you want to probably suggest if somebody pays you with a US, you need to do check it out quickly, because if you give it to the bank and then the bank then realizes it's a counterfeit, who banned it? So I think everybody should be part of the process.
But Joe, counterfeit is one, but they're not looking for counterfeit in that situation. They're looking to say like the money damage. Are they not taking $1? They will take 5, 10, 20, things like that. I'm not talking about the counterfeit,
But is
what I'm speaking about.
Is that a general culture across the industry, or is it certain people that probably chooses not to take? 'Cause I don't have any problem with anybody taking US. They get US to take it.
They taking the US, but you can't. Some of them not taking the dollar. They don't want no $1 bill.
Oh, okay.
So it's not to say it's counterfeit they're looking for.
Okay.
That is the situation.
Okay, no problem then. Thank you.
They don't want no $1 bill.
Oh, okay.
So it's not to say it's counterfeit they're looking for.
Okay.
That is the
markings on them, especially the US dollars. And certainly maybe that's a conversation we can have from somebody from the banking industry as to the reasons why. And I'm assuming reasonably, I'm not versed on it, but I'm assuming reasonably, there must be reasons why that practice, why that is done. And I'm assuming that there is. 435-2041, that is the number on the inside. We continue to keep our eyes on the clock. It is 27 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock. We take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue with the conversation right here on To The Point. They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride, and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
I want to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride, and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
29 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time. Welcome to The Point. We're going to just check some contributions coming via our social media platform. This person says, why don't you just get a marker lady to verify and check your money? Another contributor says, well, my problem is when folks from the diaspora, they come home on vacations. From the time they get onto their feet, they land on the ground. It's like the local money. The only thing that they use is US dollars. Like we don't take EC. Oh, God. He says EC dollars. I was surprised that even in the supermarkets, you will get to the price in the US also, and it is starting with the taxi drivers. Indeed. And certainly, I mean, you can well appreciate this caller says yes, and we can see the bank is not changing dollars, $1. I wasn't aware of that. That is quite interesting, and it probably would be interesting to be able to appreciate why is it. And certainly you have to understand that you need to be able, as it relates to exchange currencies, you have to be able to maintain the integrity of the money. I mean, so I've gone places and people hand you money as change, and you start asking yourself, like, seriously, where did that come from? And you start wondering, like, wow. We keeping our eyes on the clock. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Hi, good morning, Joe.
Good morning, sir.
I don't know if people understand it, but I don't believe in the whole thing, but I don't think the government can afford to do away with VAT on the things that are right now VATable, as we call it. But I think that they can reduce the rate in some cases, because I'm not sure if people are aware of it. The government gets a windfall whenever prices go up. For instance, if you bring in a car, you pay the taxes on the cost, insurance, and the freight. So if the freight goes up, the price of the car goes up. And because the government taxes on everything, the government gets more money. because they're collecting a certain rate on that total figure. Similarly with VAT, if the VAT is 15% on an item, and the item is $100, government gets $15. However, if the price of that item before VAT doubles to $200, how much does government get? Same 15%. They get now $30 on the same item. So what I think can be done is that the government can reduce the rate on those items that are skyrocketing and still collect the same money it was collecting before. As folks were asking with the shipping, I mean, we are paying, the shipping was $3,000 before, now it's $9,000, 3 times. Could you just charge us what you were charging before this, thing went so crazy? Because you'll still be getting the same money that you were getting before. So what I think the government can do is to, in cases where the price is going up very high, they can reduce the VAT so they're in the same position that they were before. And not, as it were, get a windfall profit because the prices are skyrocketing. I think that can be done.
Thank you.
That's what I would suggest.
Appreciate.
You're most welcome. Sure.
28 minutes on to the hour in the morning time, the issues of the economy, healthcare. There's so many issues, and certainly, and the question is how and when the government speaks of transforming the economy. And the question that has to be asked in transforming the economy, what's the role that you and I have to play as individuals, as organizations, as business people? What is the role that each and every one of us has to play? What is that sacrifice that we have to make that allows us to attain the next best alternative? The opportunity cost is called that which must be given up in order to obtain the next best alternative. And very often, we want to reap, but we don't want to get into the sacrifice of sowing and making those sacrifices. And I'm agreeing, I think the time has come where each and every one of us, we make those collective sacrifices. Not where one bunch decides to get a free pass and the others we're working like mule. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, hi. Sorry for calling again, but I had the opportunity to. And I want to make a comment in regard to the last caller on the VAT. He raised a very important point, but here comes the problem. As customers, we now have to pay more for the goods that are coming in, and things that the government has to do, road maintenance and so on, the government also has to pay more for those things, for the supply. And now, if you're working with the government, for example, you're going to want to have an increase in salary so that you'll be able to afford the higher cost building materials and foods and so on. So the government will have to have more revenue in tandem with the increased cost of those things. So charging the same amount, like the example that the caller gave, like a VAT is 15%, and the stuff costs $100. The government gets $15. Now the VAT the stuff goes up to $150. The 15% will be, if my math serves me correct, $22.50 or thereabout. Now, there's more money that has to be spent. The government, customers, everyone have to spend more money because of the situations, and we'll be asking for more, increasing our salaries, and cost of medication goes up. Right. So keeping the amount the same, even though the cost of the stuff go up, will not make things work out at all.
Okay, thank you, caller.
You're welcome.
425-2041, that's the number to get in on the inside. The question as I was asking about those challenges, the sacrifices that each and every one of us has to make. And I know sometimes very often we're waiting for government for some reason here, by some stroke of the magic wand, that this goes down and this is removed and we go free sailing. But what are the individual sacrifices that we're making in our lives? Have we started to prioritize? So Carnival is coming up, and everybody wants to play in a mass band for Carnival. But you know your children have to go to school, start secondary school in September. What is their priority? Carnival? Or is it your children going to secondary school or the start of school anywhere at whichever level? We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning. You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
There's something on my mind which I want to speak about.
Sure.
Concerning doctors. Why when you went to a doctor and after you send you for X-ray, you bring back the result for him, charge you for the result? I don't understand that part. I don't know why. He sent you for the X-ray result. You bring back the result for him, and then they charge you just to read the result for you. I would like somebody to explain that to me, please. Who is an authority supposed to explain that to somebody? I don't understand it.
Right. Interesting.
Thank you.
And I know it's a question that everybody asks. I guess you paid for his expertise. But I'm not a medical doctor. They would have to answer that for you. But thank you though. While you go to the doctor, they send you for an X-ray. You go get the X-ray. When you come back, they then pay you to see them again. And maybe it goes down. You pay for the visit. You can always opt not to go for the X-ray or whatever services the doctor has suggested. Remember, the doctors don't make you do anything. You can always choose not to. But I understand the concern quite evenly, though. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, Joe. Joe, I want to make an appeal to the designers of carnival costumes for our women and girls. To me, every year, when they design these things, it's making more skimpish and exposing the bodies and even the private parts of our women. And I don't know if they're not aware. I don't know if they feel that the 2 days of carnival is to expose your body to the devil. I mean, it is so shameful and it's like disrespectful to women. I don't know who designed this costume, if it's men or women themselves, I don't know. But whoever you designers are, respect our women and our children. Respect their bodies and not to be exposed for public view. You know, you look at some people and they lose all respectability. The way they gyrate and the way they get on with their bodies naked and exposed on these days, it is shameful, it is disgraceful, and it is a bad example for the younger generation. So I'm begging the people who are designing this costume. Now look at the women's costume. Look at the men. The men with long pants, they cover up.
So let me ask you, and I understand it, but let me ask you. So is the fault, you lay the fault at the feet of the designer or at the feet of the person who makes that choice to wear it?
Okay, they want to play the mask, and that's what is available, so they do it. But if the designers, when I was a child growing up, one of your commentators and they say, oh, we're not living in the same time. Yes, it's true. But that doesn't mean we have to accept nakedness, nudity, and this exposure of our women like that.
Okay.
I don't know where we are going. And as though that some people feel we should accept whatever comes. We should not speak, but we know the past. We know ancient days where we were little children, when we became young adults. We see the degradation of things. It is getting worse and worse and worse. And that's why I tell people there is a God in heaven and there is a devil loose on earth.
But I think in all fairness to the designers, I don't take part in Carnival, but I've seen costumes that are relatively decent. So I think it's a matter of choice. They cater for persons based on where they are. I've seen costumes that covers if you want to play mass in something that exposes you. You have that choice, and there are other costume designers that make costumes that cater for the more mature people. So people go to what they want.
The ones that are skimpish and deliberately for exposure.
No, that's
to stop it.
Okay.
Okay, Joe, let me give you one example. I don't want to take too much time. Now look at cigarettes. Look at cigarettes. Now they tell you on the cigarette box, it is warnings, it is dangerous to your health.
Right.
Okay. They put you. So why are they making cigarettes there?
But it comes down to a choice.
Dangerous to your health. Why manufacture cigarettes? Why not stop it?
But doesn't it come down to a choice at the end of the day?
But I said so. If you give people choice, take the choice. But if it's not available, they don't have it.
So let me.
Putting the onus and the blame on the users. But what about the makers, the manufacturers?
I think, okay.
Making it.
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to people and their personal choices. You wear what you want to wear. You eat what you want to eat. If you choose to smoke, you smoke. You smoke.
Well, I want to tell people
because there is a devil. There's in as much as there is a God in heaven, there is a devil. So there's always going to be both sides of the conversation.
I'm begging people then, so just don't choose the side of the devil. Please choose the side of God, because eventually, if you die without Christ, you're lost. But if you have Christ, you will never be able to do things. You will never be able to be nude, to have your bodies exposed, to get on and gyrate and whine and behave in such degradable manner on these 2 days they call Carnival.
Okay.
What God that Carnival stop?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think in life we are all at the end of the day moral beings. We are moral agents, and I think the question comes not necessarily. I don't blame anybody for anything. Nobody says to me, somebody manufacturing or providing a service doesn't mean that I have to consume alcohol. It doesn't. If a designer decides somebody wants to wear a designer outfit that puts their body outside, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not here as a moral agent that says to you do or do not do. But it comes down to choices. What we need to do is to teach our children values, and we do hope that they would grow with those values. Caller, each and every one of us, we make our own choices in life. 435-2041. We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live. Caller, you alive?
Yeah, good morning. I want to make a comment about somebody who just asked about why they charge when you bring back the X-ray. I would like people to know that when they go to a doctor, they go to the doctor with their problem. They tell the doctor what happened.
Right.
And they don't ask the doctor any questions. So, for example, I asked the doctor why I have to bring back the X-ray. He said to give me the result. I opened the X-ray and I saw the result. So there was no need. I brought it back to him, and there was no need for you to charge me, because you ask him, why is he charging you?
Fair enough.
People don't seem to ask people who is in authority questions. All local people do not ask people questions. And I hope that this new administration, when they ask them questions, they answer the question, and not saying, well, I'll answer the question this way. Answer the question in the way that we could understand, because the majority of us don't have the education that they have, and that's the majority of us in Grenada. And the same thing with doctors, lawyers, pastors, whoever. I asked a pastor one time if the story about Adam and Eve is true. And literally, he didn't say in his words, but he was telling me, well, don't go there. He couldn't answer the question. So I'm suggesting to people, when they go to the doctor, before the doctor sends them for an X-ray, ask them why. And ask them, if the result is positive, what do he do? If the result is negative, what does he do? These are the questions they should ask. And not only doctors, lawyers, who, for example, even before you're talking to them, they want to charge you money.
Right.
And we should, because the majority of us are poor, ordinary people who is not so educated, and it's our money, those professionals becoming rich from.
Right.
Or the one who wants to sue.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. And it's an excellent point that the caller makes, that we need to question, but we've grown up in a system where it has been asserted that questioning is being rude. No, you can inquire. Have a conversation with the doctor. Doc, okay, so I'm going for an X-ray. Let's have a conversation. Because remember, you go to the doctor, you have the ailment. The doctor is not quite sure what's wrong with you. It's based on what you tell him, the signs, symptoms. He determined, okay, as part of the investigation, let's do this. The question is, would you want to further the investigation? If not, you can always decide no. But at the end of the day, the doctor is like, whenever you go to the supermarket, you go to an expert, you go to a lawyer, you pay them for their service. But certainly, I know a lot of people, it's a conversation. Sometimes they go, why do I need to? Maybe you could find somebody that can read it. Would that make sense? No. Go back to your doctor. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You are live. 14 minutes on to the hour of 10. You're live, caller.
Yes, Joe.
I must say this because I want to reinforce what somebody has recently said. Now, everything depends on someone's education. Maybe a man like you, if you get the result, you might be able to read it. A man like me might not be able to read it, so I'll have to go back to the doctor.
Right.
Anyhow, nevertheless, someone says that you should know, but at the same time, the doctor would send you because he wants to know how far the disease or whatever you have has taken its toll on you already.
Right.
So then he's likely to know what next to do. So I'll answer that part. At the same time, I am looking at a lot of us as what this man, he seems to have traveled. I feel definitely what he's saying is facts. Because I always read when I get results or x-rays. Because I'm not so intelligent, I sometimes being able to read it. And if I find the need for going back, I'll go back. But education is the key, as you would say. Look at how successful you are. Is the key to success.
But let me wind you at it, so I don't want to make sure we take the wrong idea here. It's not just about education. There's training. So I might be skilled in one area, but if you give me a blood work, I may have
depends on the level of education.
And I just want to make sure that we're clear with that. So I would just suggest to folks, ask. I think the point that Colin made previously, you ask the doctor. Why do I need to do this? And it comes down to a relationship between you and your doctor. Because I've had occasions where I visited the doctor says, JC, go do this, and when I come back, doc say, no, just give me $40.
You could afford it.
Thank you, caller.
Anyhow, I know you're
all the best,
man. That's the norm with you.
Take care. 435-2041, and I know each and every one of us, because of course increasing the pressures, limited resources, we find it kind of heart-rending. Why do I need to? And I think it goes back to the initial conversation where we need to get active. We take active care of our health so that we limit the occasions where we have to make visits to doctor. Maybe what we need to do is to visit the doctors periodically. It's not a culture that we have, that we've grown into, visiting the dentist, visiting the family doctor twice a year. Most of us, we only visit the doctor when water more than flour, and then you realize water more than flour, you can't even make flour pop with it. We're going to go back to the telephone lines, 435-2041. We're running out of time now. It's about 10 minutes, 11 actually, onto the hour of 10 o'clock. We want to take some contributions via social media. Where's my mouse? My mouse. Because somebody tell me how is it my mouse got onto the ground, onto the floor. Timon, maybe you want to help me with social media here. My mouse is on the ground. Come on, Timon, work with me. This person says maybe you should open an account in the bank and deposit the dollar. Maybe it's a way for them to take it instead of exchanging it. Interesting. Just another contribution. Yes, that is true about the money. I sent money for my relatives, but by bending the money, sometimes there are many bends or little tear mark. The bank will not take it, and certainly and those are areas that we need to educate ourselves as to what is agreed, what is things that you can do, and what are the things you do that compromises the integrity of any monetary device. So whether or not it's the EC dollar, whether or not it's a US dollar, there are do's and don'ts, markings. Very often we're not aware of those. We're going to go back to the telephone lines. 8 minutes on to the hour. You live caller.
Yes, morning, Joe. If I go to the doctor, right, I pay for attendance. The doctor would send me for tests, okay? When I come back with the result, he have to read the result and then make prescription for me. Is our next attendance again, so I have to pay? You see?
Yes.
It's an attendant again.
Right.
He prescribe, if it's 4 or 5 prescription, that will write for me to get the medication. So it's I see it as another attendance.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. And while it might be so, there's some of us that's thinking, really, doctor, seriously? 7 minutes on to the hour in the morning time, 435-2041. That is the number to get it on the inside. I'm not sure why Timon is not working with me. Timmy, work with me. What can I need? I need to get some viewings up on social media before we wrap. Because I'm not able to scroll because my mouse is on the ground. Timon, work with me, can you? This is the culture and the spice. They reject U.S. currency that's torn on market. I don't want to say it's a culture. If it's torn, there is that which is acceptable and not acceptable. So certainly we have to be able to appreciate that. This person said that it is a culture. And certainly, I will promise you that we're going to get somebody from the banking industry as part of this conversation, so that we can educate the general public. So, for instance, you go to the bank, and persons that come from a finance background, you give them money, and all of a sudden they start flipping it, puts in the hands with queen, and those are things I've learned over time. I'm like, okay. So they are standard, they are acceptable practices and procedures that many of us we're not aware of, and certainly we're going to, as part of this ongoing conversation, I promise you, we're going to find somebody, an expert that's able to educate us. We can question them as to what are some of the do's and don'ts, some of the things that we take for granted as to how we treat with monetary exchanges. We're running out of time, Grenada. Just about 2 minutes or so left in the program. Let me see what contributions there is on social medias. Not much coming by the way of social media. This person says, good morning, Carnival is fun and it's up to you to choose your clothing of choice. The older folks enjoy the clothing by back in their time. Your body is yours, be careful with it. And I agree with that. And I think ultimately it comes down to choices. 5 minutes on to the hour. Good morning, caller. You are live.
Hi, Joe.
Good morning to you.
Concerning the bank and the money is being made and it's passed around and it's mashed up. So the best place to accept it is the bank. And when they get it, they keep it. And they get it changed in their bigger bank. Thank you.
Reasonable argument right there. Thank you very much, caller. Folks, this is where we have to leave the conversation for now. Let me just browse through social media, see if there's chances. Anybody that I did miss? This person said what Adam and Eve did in the garden, they were ashamed, thinking that they were naked. God asked, who told you that you were naked? So God did not judge their nakedness. So who says being free for one day's evil? Actually, there's nothing good or evil except thinking makes it so. Interesting. But I'm going to leave that conversation right there. I'll leave that conversation right there. But indeed, it's always a pleasure being here with you. I want to say thanks to all of our contributors, those of you wherever you are, those on social media. Good morning to you, Akeem. Akeem says the system is old and outdated, and they are just ignorant about changes. Quite interested. Good morning to all of you. Olivia Peters says, well, we want to say thank you for being part of the conversation. To our listeners, our viewers, to you wherever you are, continue to be part of this really period of change. And certainly we continue to ask ourselves again. I will say to you, the question is not what my government can do for me, but what can I do for my country. Until then, so long everybody. To all our listeners, viewers, wherever you are, have yourself a super candy fragilistic espialidocious Wednesday. God bless. Until then, so long.